what I've been arguing is that Putin, because of his skill at geopolitics, has been running circles around a distracted United States. United States, obsessively focused on Iraq and on Afghanistan, forgot that it spent the last 15 years meticulously cultivating the countries of Central Asia and the Caucasus, the so-called stands, trying to turn this swath of land into a Western-backed region. And the proof of that was the 5 days in August, this last August, when Georgia invaded South Ossetia and Russia came storming down and marched right into Georgia proper and showed the United States and showed the West who was in control of that region. What has Putin spent the last 4 years doing? He has, of course, he consolidated his power domestically, but he also understood something. He understood that Sheila Heslin was right. Who here knows Sheila Heslin? Well, you read the book. Okay. Sheila Heslin is she lives not far from me in Bethesda, Maryland. She's raising her 3 children, has a trampoline in her backyard. She's invited my eldest daughter to come jump on. 15 years ago, Sheila Heslin was at the very center of geopolitics in the stands. And in fact, she's the conceiver of all that you see today. The friction between the United States and Russia are a product of Sheila Heslin's genius. Sheila Heslin was a junior officer on the National Security Council in the Clinton administration. When Clinton came to power, there was a new desk formed on the NSC, and it was to study the stands and Ukraine. She was the second person on that desk. And today, if I say to a group as I'm going around, just casually mention the Caucasus and Central Asia, you get this, what? So you can imagine that this is after 15 years of the Soviet Union having broken up. The U.S. is in there. 9/11 has happened. We've established military bases. Oil has started coming out of there, and it still is this. So you can imagine 15 years ago, Sheila Heslin went into the NSC and told her superiors, including Strobe Talbot, Bill Clinton's personal envoy to the former Soviet Union, let's take on Russia in its own backyard. We got to take over. We've got to make the Caucasus and Central Asia, the bottom half of the former Soviet Union, those 8 states, Western-backed. What are you talking about? Challenging Russia, we've got bigger fish to fry. We've got arms control. We've got to reduce the number of nuclear weapons. We've got to harness loose nukes, loose uranium. We've got to make Russia a normal country. This was the argument. We've got to make Russia a normal country. So that then, when it was lying flat on its back, when it gets back on its feet, it is not the old Russia, an antagonist to the West. Heslin argued the opposite. She said that Russia wielded an iron umbilical cord against the Caucasus and Central Asia. Russia controlled all the oil and all the natural gas that could be transported out of that region, and through that made this region weak and vulnerable, exposed to its will. And she argued that the U.S. needed to sever that umbilical cord, or at least make another one headed west. And she argued that, to the contrary of what Strobe Talbot argued, that unless the United States challenged Russia in its own backyard, it was not going to become normal. Russia would become normal when it was forced to stay within its own borders. But she also did it through this argument. She drew a simple map. She took out an 8.5 by 11 piece sheet of paper in a meeting of the deputies, the so-called deputies. This is the standard meeting where foreign policy is discussed on a semi-high level within the foreign policy establishment in Washington. It's the deputy secretaries of the relevant departments. And she took this piece of paper and she drew a simple map of this region. And she said, look at this. You got your arrow ready? All right. So to the south of it is Iran. To the east of it is China. To the north, of course, is Russia. These countries, all of them are of primary strategic importance to the United States. And all of them were bound to struggle for influence in the stands. It was up to the United States it was incumbent upon the United States to insert itself in that struggle and to dominate it and to win that struggle. But who's the most learned student of the Heslin policy? Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin has been carrying out Sheila Heslin policy. He understood from the construction of these pipelines that Russian domination of that region hinged on the control of the oil and gas flow. Other things too, but that's the main source of power is who controls not necessarily the oil, but the flow of the oil, the transportation of the oil. Oil in the ground, as oilmen told me and will tell you, is worth nothing. It's worth zero. It only becomes worth something if you can get it out and sell it. And so those pipelines are valuable commercially and invaluable geostrategically.